welcome to BizBlend listeners, where sharp minds meet real innovation. Now, I'm your host Sana, and today in this episode, we are going to dive into the world of tokenized luxury and next gen markets with none other than Eric McHugh. He's a serial founder who is blending Web3, AI, and conscious capitalism. So, let's unpack the future he's building with Aces. So, Eric, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really honored to have you with us today.
Hi, Santa. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful to be here as well. So thank you so much.
Wonderful, Eric. Okay, so let's start right from the basic at the core. So when you say tokenizing the world's products, what exactly does it mean? Like, does it mean more towards the capitalism thing, or is it something else? And why did you begin with the luxury RWAs for Aces?
Yeah. So when I say tokenizing the world's products, it's more so about creating a freer and fairer economy. And if you think about it from a liquidity perspective, if you have a bunch of e-commerce products, there isn't too much liquidity for those products to be sold on open market. I mean, you can use Amazon, you can use eBay, you can use personal websites, but there's not too many ways to do that. So by tokenizing the world's products, you create more liquidity around products, meaning more and more people can sell products and services, meaning the system becomes more fluid and price should drop after that. So think about tokenizing a product as creating a digital equivalent
Mhm.
in the digital world. So it's creating a one-to-one link between a product and a token.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, that is interesting. That is bold. And then how does this benefit the everyday consumer, Eric? I mean, or is it like even benefiting, or is it just like a playground for the crypto native elite?
No, no, I would say it benefits everyone. And for
Mhm.
crypto and Web3 to be massively adopted, there are two things getting in the way of that, and that's the user interface. So to interact with a crypto product, it's rather difficult. And the second is incentive. Like there's no real reason for the average person to interact with the crypto space. And then tokenizing e-commerce products, I think is a good way to change that because who buys e-commerce products? Pretty much everyone. So just imagine a world where if you think of an tokenization, a product that's tokenized, think of it as like a barcode system. So if I were to purchase a Nike product, I could
Mhm.
take my phone, I could scan that Nike product, I
Okay.
can trace it all the way back to the Nike factory to ensure authenticity because I don't want to buy fake or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Nike on the flip side, they can see how many times the product was sold, like once, twice, three times, four times. And they get all that data because everything's being tracked on the blockchain. And something cool too is because I own this Nike product, I can create a system where it creates a system where everyone technically becomes their own Amazon. So I could sell your products, you could sell my products, we could both sell Nike products, and it creates a win-win system because let's say I'm an e-commerce brand, you just happen to like my product, you sell one of my products in the form of a tokenized asset on your website. So one of your listeners comes in, makes that purchase, they win because they get access to that product. They want you win because you get a commission. I win because I get my product sold. So that's what I mean by creating liquidity of products. If there's more ways to sell it, price should drop because Amazon, eBay, they take a bunch of money from the retailers anyways.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Oh, that is interesting. That is interesting. And you also talk about ACEs as a derivative market for luxury. So I kind of understand that because, um, but derivatives they usually bring up images of complexity, and that definitely there is a risk involved there. So how are you making this accessible and also trustworthy for those who are completely new to Web3, including me?
Yeah. Now, in terms of creating a derivative markets for luxury products, the reason we chose luxury products is because it's a very niche market. And when you're building a business, you don't have product market fit. You want to test it out in a bunch of different areas, and usually the nicher, the better. So we just found a good fit for luxury items because A, like there's not too many of them, and B, like they're harder to sell. So it's like if I had a luxury painting, like a $250,000 painting, it's like how many buyers are there? There aren't too many. So this marketplace creates that it creates attention for that product, thus increasing the chance to sell. So right now the platform is still being built. So what's going to happen is picture a Amazon where you can see a bunch of different luxury items that have been tokenized. So for example, you can purchase
Okay.
A Mona Lisa painting in the form of a token. You buy the token, that token can redeem for the product in real life. And on top of that, if it has the ability to create a token around the product. So that Mona Lisa could have the Mona token, and then people can speculate on the price, whether it goes up, whether it goes down, so they can join the derivatives market that way. Regarding safety, I think a big important thing about crypto is a double-edged sword, meaning
Mm.
it really falls. I mean, part of the power comes from the ownership, but then if you have ownership of a product, you really have to do your own research. So we're creating a platform that's safe for everyone to use, but when you look at the products that have been tokenized, it's really up to you to do your own research.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. That is true. It is volatile. It is volatile. Uh, and how do you um I mean you have operated in big tech, Eric. You have built startups globally, and now you're also blending, tech with spiritual principles. How does it blend into tech? I mean, how spiritual is intersecting here with tech?
So the spirituality aspect, I think it's one of the most important things. So for me, it's just a foundation. So I'm sure you're well aware of intention. So the intention of all our products and services is to do good in the world. And I think that putting that positive vibe out there, it reflects back on the company. So I think everyone has an inner purpose, and I think everyone has an outer purpose. I think everyone's inner purpose is to raise their own level of consciousness. And what this does is it raises the level of consciousness around them. So, for example, the reason I like to go on podcasts, if one person leaves this conversation and they feel slightly better, their vibe is slightly raised, I think that's a win because they go out in the world. And then, like, if their vibe is slightly raised, it raises the vibe around them and it raises the vibe around them and it creates like a nice positivity upward spiral. And so that's your everyone's inner purpose, and I believe everyone's the outer purpose is what are your God-given gifts? What are your talents? What are your natural curiosities that you can use to help with inner purpose? And for me, it just happened to be a AI-powered matchmaking app and Aces.fun because the reason I'm so passionate about crypto is based on Bitcoin. So I think it fixes an incentive problem where meaning if I wanted to become it incentivizes value creation over value extraction. So for example, I'm in the United States.
Okay.
If I wanted to become rich without doing anything, how would I do that? I would place myself right next to the money printer, aka the Federal Reserve, and I would extract as much money as I can. And I'm incentivized to do so. Whereas in a Bitcoin world, if I want to become rich, how do I make as much Bitcoin as possible? Well, I can't do that. So I have to create value for other people and they have to give me their Bitcoin. So if I wanted your Bitcoin, I would have to create something that you actually want, and then we would trade versus me using like legal systems to extract your Bitcoin without even you knowing. And
Mhm.
Aces.fun, it's a way to help onboard people at scale because I believe it's a 0 to 1 thing where the more people who hear about it the first
Mhm.
time, the more likely they're going to get into the system, the stronger the system gets. And what better way to get people involved in the system is actually having them use it versus telling them about it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. And then how do you look at the scalability of this? Because uh, I mean, are there any real world barriers, Eric, that you see to the mass adoption of all these tokenized RWAs? I mean, how does ACES plan to overcome if there are any real world barriers like
I was
Web3 and all?
So a cool thing about the crypto space is I mentioned earlier that there are two main blockers for real world adoption of cryptocurrency. And the first is incentive. So meaning the average person doesn't have a real reason to enter the space, but ACES gives them a reason. So the incentive is taken care of. And the second is the user interface, meaning like I can't really send my mom to a crypto project just because I don't want her to interact with the crypto space because it's hard to use.
Mhm.
Where crypto and Web3, I think that solves itself because of composability, meaning that just basically stands for the compound interest of software. So meaning pretty much everyone copy and pastes each other's code. So once one big brand is able to solve the problem of creating a seamless user interface for their customers, other brands can do that, and then it just becomes better to use that way. And luckily, they have the resources to do so, and they are doing so. Like Nike isn't going to send its customers to a poor user flow. They'll spend the money, they'll spend the resources, they'll design it well, they'll make it simple to use, and everyone else can do that. So I think the problems are getting solve themselves, and that just comes with attention because it is a new space.
Mm, that definitely makes sense. And a bit of a personal question, Eric. I mean, I can see that you are so clearly passionate about creating impact-driven platforms. Not only in crypto or derivatives, but in fact in other industries or areas as well. But how do you personally stay aligned with such a fast, evolving landscape? Sometimes it can be really harsh. What exactly anchors you?
Oh, yeah, honestly, the answer is pretty interesting. So I think most people try to go fast, fast, fast. I like to, when I feel overwhelmed, I just like to take things slow because I found when you're taking things slow, you don't really miss anything. Whereas when you're fast, you miss a bunch of things. So yeah, no, I mean, a lot of times the best thing to do, and oftentimes the best thing to do, but the hardest thing to do is to slow down. So I'm just conscious of that. So yeah, things are going fast. Let's take a deep breath. Let's go on a walk. Let's do meditation. I find my mind clears and then I'm much more effective anyway. So it's a win-win.
Mhm. Yeah, because there's so much of it's so kind of a slippery slope there. Many founders they burn out trying to keep up with speed and scale. So,
Uh, I think that I think that burnout I don't really get burnout because I'm just following my natural curiosity of what I'm interested in. So a lot of times my day is I just kind of do what excites me most regarding the two companies. And because it excites me most is oftentimes what needs to be the best thing I could have done with my time. So if you're doing what excites you most, it's hard to get burnout. And I guess I can see how people get burnout, but I also just reframe it in my mind. Whereas like if something doesn't work, I just reframe it as a learning experience. I view a learning experience as a win, and if I continuously win, that gives me more energy anyways. Plus, you have to take care of your physical and mental health. Like, if you're physically healthy, you're mentally healthy, you're spiritually healthy, burnout becomes much less of a factor anyways.
that is true. That is true. But one thing which definitely I connected with is when you're really passionate about something, you can be physically tired, but obviously you have to need to take a break. But then you don't feel that, burnout. You don't feel that burnout. You are because you are internally aligned with something that you are creating.
And yeah, that alignment is extremely important. But if you're not aligned with what you're creating, that's just draining you anyway. So that increases the chance of burnout. So oftentimes, if you're really burned out, maybe take a step back and see if what you're working on is something see if what you're working on is either a program desire or a natural desire.
Mm. Great. And Eric, if our listeners would like to explore ACEs, how they can.
Yeah, so the best way to do that is to check out our website, Aces.fun, ACES.fun. So right now our platform is being built. So hopefully by the time you listen to this, you can actually see the platform itself. You can see what tokens have been tokenized or what products have been tokenized and actually get some skin in the game versus me telling you about it.
Lovely, lovely. Wow, that is great. I'll definitely have the link mentioned in the show notes. And if they would also like to connect with you, Eric, how they can do that.
I would check either my Instagram, ERICDMCHUGH, or my LinkedIn, because I do like meeting new people. And I view the name of the game as helping people. So if I can help you, just hit me up and I'm happy to do so.
Wonderful. And listeners, that's a wrap on today's BizBlend. Eric, thank you. Thank you so much for giving us a glimpse into a future, I guess, where value, technology, it's there, but definitely their consciousness also is intersecting here. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Listeners, if this episode sparked questions or curiosity within you, share your thoughts and keep the conversation going. Connect with Eric, explore about ACES. I'll have all the links in the show notes for you. But until next time, stay curious and stay bold. And this is BizBlend, and I'm your host, Sana, signing off. Thank you.